afternoon. Today we're going to talk about a little bit of the fraud that Columbia Bank sees on an ongoing basis, and I just kind of threw a few things together that I know that retail and the banking world have in common. And a lot of it is check fraud, a lot of business identity theft, which everyone talks about individual identity theft, but there is a lot of business identity theft going on out there too. And I wanted to talk a little bit about security and what you're doing to protect yourself and your business. And if you have any questions, just go ahead and throw them out there. Okay, so business identity theft. I have some handouts here. If someone's like, and I do need these back, and I'll stand. These are counterfeit checks, and you can just spread them out. But you have to remember, when you look at these counterfeit checks, you think of the banking industry, but look who owns the counterfeit items. It's usually a company. That company a lot of times has been victimized by having their own identity stolen, by lost checks in the mail, stolen checks in the mail. You leave your checks to pay your bills on top of your counter. Someone just walks by, picks them up, scoops them up, and now they have your signature, they have your account number, they have your check stock. They have everything there to go to Office Depot and buy a check manufacturing kit for about $35. That'll give you 300 checks. So it's very, it's appalling. It's just that even in the electronic age, we see an awful amount of counterfeit checks, and so these are sent out. They have mules that will go into the bank or into the retail industry, like Safeway, like Walmart, like Fred Meyer. They'll cash these at their customer service counters, and then they come through our customers' accounts. Clearing, and a lot of times the customers don't recognize that they've been a victim until they receive their statement. So you have to be really careful about, how secure are you keeping your checks, who has access to your checks, who your bookkeeper is, who gets your bank statements, all of that information, because that can be turned into a sweepstakes lottery. It can be turned into shop at home. Or guess what? You've inherited money from Nigeria, that sort of thing. So if you take a look at these items, and just pass those around to you, you can see how they're used in counterfeit ways. Okay. The most recent activity that we have seen is the counterfeit checks that they're made. The culprit is going down to the actual state, whether it's Oregon or Washington. They're opening a business license in that company's name with maybe just a slight variation. So then they take the check that is made out to the business, they go to the bank. They bring their articles of incorporation, they bring their partnership paperwork, they bring their business resolutions, they bring their business license, and of course the bank is going to open up the account, because everything is in order as far as what they need for a business account. Then these checks are deposited into that account, money is subsequently withdrawn, and then the check comes back from the real business stating, this is not our check. And the bank winds up taking the loss on that. So very, very important to make sure that you keep your business information as secure as your personal information. You have to look at your employees, how much access your employees have to your business information, to your banking information. What are you doing to protect yourself? Are you keeping the checks in a desk drawer that's unlocked? Do you have janitor service? All of these things. Who are you trusting with your business information? Okay, do you leave your outgoing mail sitting up on the counter? My dentist caught it when I went in for my checkup, because he has a whole stack of mail sitting up on the top of the receptionist counter, just waiting for someone to come by and pick that up. So they're either going to counterfeit the checks, or they're going to alter the checks and cash them. Okay. Are you allowing employees to use company computers for social networking? And are you doing your banking on that same computer? You know, social networking sites are infamous for, you know, not being secure. You can get a key logging virus, and then the next thing you know, they have all your online banking information. Well, then they just signed in and they ask for a wire transfer to go someplace, and your bank account is cleaned out. Okay, next slide. Poor security. 40% of people don't use a password on their mobile devices, and of those who do, 34% haven't changed that password in over a year. 38% admit they share online passwords. So if you have a computer system in your business that you're allowing your employees to use, does everybody have the same password? Can you tell who signed on to that computer? 8,000 Americans surveyed showed that 23% don't back up the data on their PCs. 41% never run a manual antivirus scan to ensure computers are virus-free. Viruses are like our #1 enemy in the banking industry. People's sign-on information is obtained illegally by these social networking sites, or just by shopping online or cruising online, browsing, and that information is used to empty out bank accounts. So you have to be very, very careful about how you're securing that information. 67% don't use an identity monitoring service. If you're a company that relies on your reputation, that service is very beneficial to you. Embezzlement, big time. Who's doing the books for your company? The News Tribune just had an article about a company, Tacoma Orthopedic Surgeons, just put a lady away for 7 years. She was their bookkeeper for 25 years. She was a family friend, you know, and all she did was steal it from them. You have to be very, very careful. Another instance, we had a case where the bookkeeper was the accountant and bookkeeper for several businesses, because he was a bookkeeper for you and said, "Oh, Bob's great. You should be a bookkeeper for him." And then he said, "Bob's great," and so it just went down the line. But he wound up embezzling over $500,000 from an attorney's firm, and for 20 hours a week schedule, he was able to sign himself up for their 401k. He had medical and dental. He bought a house. He did all kinds of stuff. He stole over $500,000 from this attorney firm, and they had a CPA firm that was looking at him every year. Very smart. Okay, is your office protected? What do you have for security? Physical security. Sometimes a locked drawer is the best protection you can have. Most people don't think about that stuff, you know. Keys are great. If you don't have anything else, make sure your stuff is locked up. You know, how much personal information do you possess about your customers? Are you a business that has remote deposit capture? Are you scanning your own checks for deposit to your bank? If you are, you have your customers' personal information right there. You have their signatures, their bank stop, their account numbers, everything that it would take for someone to steal their identity. So are you making sure that you are securing that information? Would a burglary compromise your customers' identities? Surveillance. How many here have a VCR and a videotape as surveillance? Anybody? Great. Those things are gone. They're not supported. They have horrible film. You know, it's terrible. Get yourself a good DVR. Better yet, get yourself an online security program where all you have to do is sign in, and you can see your store 24 hours a day if you want to. They're great and well worth the price. How would your ruined reputation, affect your bottom line? Once again, we're back to what are you doing to secure your own information? Make sure it's not compromised. Okay, protecting yourself. Open your own mail first. Make your own bank deposits. Review all statements before giving them to the bookkeeper. Never sign signatory authority on your bank accounts. Never, ever give that away. I don't care how busy you are. The best practice is to make sure that you are looking at your own accounts and don't give that responsibility away to anyone else. Never sign blank checks. Now, I have seen this where the business will keep actual blank checks there just in case something comes up and someone has to buy anything or go buy lunch or whatever, petty cash, and then those checks wind up disappearing. Any signed checks, the bank is not going to honor if they're stolen because you signed them. Anyone that picks them up can fill in any amount that they want to. Watch for questionable behavior. Beware of lifestyle changes. If you think someone is stealing from you, be aware of how they're dressing. Are they dressing a lot better than they used to? Are they driving a better car? Are they going on vacations a little bit more? Look at their lifestyle changes because that is a big red flag. Make sure that you're trying to use your online banking. If you're not signed up for online banking, it's a good tool for you to use because you can see what's coming in. Another good tool that a lot of banks offer is called positive pay or reverse positive pay, where you are notified of the amount and the number of checks that are clearing in your bank account if you actually go in and choose to either pay or return those items. Wonderful, wonderful tool, especially for counterfeit checks because the bank has a limited amount of time to react. From the time a check hits the bank account, we have until midnight the following business day to return it. Most times, counterfeit checks are not found until the statement is received by the customer or the business, and then it's too late. Sometimes it's $16,000, $17,000, where they've just gone to one retail store or another and cashed these. Okay.
How much of the liability goes to the individual whose checks were stolen?
I'm sorry?
How much of the liability is responsible by the person whose checks were stolen?
Well, if we catch it within 24 hours, the item is returned. So it might be the store that takes the loss. If we're past that midnight deadline, the bank takes the loss. And that's why we like to work hand in hand with our business customers, especially those that write a significant amount of checks during the month. If we're partners in this, if we're taking $25,000 losses every month on every business customer we have, that's not a good thing. So we really want to use you as a partner with us so that we can try and prevent this. Okay. Remember to review your statements. Don't wait. When you get them, open them up and look at them because there might be items in there. It could be a wire transfer. It could be an ACH item. It could be a counterfeit check. It could be an altered check. So if you send something to someone to be cashed, it could be that they altered the payee, they altered the amount. The check number has cleared, but you don't know until you actually take a look at that item. Okay. Sign up for positive pay. Okay, and then we have my favorites, the online scams, which is part of a lot of those checks that I've passed around. The sweetheart scam, where you make friends with someone online and then it turns into a romance, and I call it the I love you, send me money, because that's usually what happens. The next one is the attorney scam. People from China contact local attorneys here and state, I have a settlement that I need to facilitate through the United States. Would you be my attorney, please? And we'll give you 10% and your retainer and everything. And the attorney says, oh, yes, they're looking at billable hours. So they said, yes, thank you very much. And they take the check and deposit it. And then they wire the funds back to the people that sent them the check. However, the check comes back as counterfeit. It's returned and unpaid. So sometimes that's up to $350,000 for big checks. Big checks. The inheritance scam. You are the recipient of a $12.1 million inheritance from Nigeria. And all you have to do is deposit this first and send back 10% for the taxes. Well, of course, people deposit the money, then the check comes back returned, and they're on the hook for the money. The real estate scam, same thing. I'd like to buy real estate. I'm out of the country right now, but here's $25,000 for a down payment on this real estate, And then a couple of days later, after the check has been deposited, then the person comes back and says, oh, you know, I changed my mind. I'm not going to be in the United States like I thought I was. Could you please just wire back? Please keep, you know, such and such amount for your trouble and wire the rest back. Well, and then they do that, and the check comes back counterfeit. Grandma, I'm in jail. Now, we hear a lot about this on the news, where, especially coming from Canada, where this frantic phone call goes to a senior citizen, and they say, Grandma, help me. I've been arrested. I'm in Canada, or I've been in an accident. I need you to wire me $2,000 right away. Well, this poor senior citizen is so flabbergasted by the whole thing and kind of, you know, caught off guard that, of course, she'll run right down to the bank and wire that $2,000 out, not thinking about calling the grandson in the first place and asking if they're in the country. The work at home scams. Some of the checks that I passed around there are part of work at home scams. Please take this check, deposit it, go shop at all of these stores, and, you know, keep so much for yourself, but send the rest back. The lottery scam. You've won the lottery. Please send money for taxes. If you have to pay to win the lottery, it is a scam. If it is too good to be true, it is a scam. Anyone that is willing to make you pay for something up front, you need to check into it. Okay. Help collect a debt. One of the handouts I have back here is actually from the FBI, and it has, you know, if you can answer yes to any of these questions, like did you accept something over the internet, and it'll give you a long list that makes you think, you know, especially for the eBay, the online auction sites, everything. I'm now you. Take all the money. A lot of times people pretend to be you. A lot of social engineering, a lot of personal information that is obtained and used in a fraudulent manner. You know, we're kind of all in this together. And even though I don't know if you all are part of our clients of Columbia Bank, but whoever you bank with, get a hold of your representative and partner with them, because you know the losses that are incurred, billions of dollars a year in losses are incurred, and that is passed down to everyone, whether it's insurance fraud, it's bank fraud, it's retail fraud, it's all going to pass down to us. Okay, do you have any questions? Is that too fast? No? Okay. Well, I thank you for your attention.
Oh, we got one question.
Oh, okay.
I'm wondering, you said that when he asked you who eats this debt, you kind of said the banks do. But I'm wondering, because obviously you said if you have each business customer costing you so much money because of fraud, have your rates for businesses gone up, or has there been talk of that this really could impact the way that you guys do take on business clients, and how will this affect that relationship if it continues?
Well, the amount of fraud and losses that we take are mitigated by the fraud team that we have at the bank. A lot of times it's just the cost of doing business. We're not raising rates for something else to overcome the losses that we've incurred for fraud. We try to partner with our customers to make sure that they're educated and that they talk to us. We're one of the very few banks out there that will still verify checks. You know, the bank branches know that. You know, we have a team of investigators throughout the banking system that we're all connected to, that we can, you know, at least call and say, do you know, this check is coming through, can you tell us if it's good or not? But we don't pass that loss off to our customers.